Hello, I'm going to be looking at the sweep problem now. So the sweep problem says to write a static method named sweep, accepts an array of integers, and performs a sweep. Basically, the sweep bubbles up the largest element like a bubble sort, and then returns true if any value is changed. So to start with how you might end up solving this problem, you should start by looking at this. So this is the simplest possible situation. You have Uh, yeah. So you have a two-element array, and so you just look at this. Is index 0 greater than index 1? Then swap them. You can think of it also as having this comparison frame, although that's not super helpful in this scenario. So that's what this implementation is. You have a sweep, and then if array index 0 is greater than array index 1, then you swap them. Now to go from here to an entire array, it's actually not that complicated. Although, I would just like to point out quickly that this solution works for half of all of them, which is quite solid. It does, however, get tripped up on the single element array, which we will address in a second. The next level up from this is a sliding frame. So it's the same thing where you have array index 0 and index 1, but you also have an offset. So that's offset 0, that's offset 1, that's offset 2, and so on. So if this is array index 0, it's 0 plus 2. So now you're at index 2, which is the third element, and then you have your extra one, which is the third. So going back over into here, if I just comment out that, and I re-enable this function, this basically does that. So you have a while loop that goes through your array, and then it goes up until length -1, because if you went to length, you would end up here, and then your frame would overflow. But if you go to length -1, then your frame ends here, and then these two elements can swap. So 7 and 2 can still swap, because they can, but you also don't overflow. And this also solves the single element problem, because if your length is 1, 1 minus 1 is 0, and then your starting is already 0, so it just won't go through. So, yeah. If your index is 0, then 0 is not less than 0, so this whole thing gets skipped. So basically, you have your index, and then into your array you get the index, and if that's bigger than the next index, then you swap everything, and then you set swept to true, and then you increase the index, and then you obviously return swept, and then your array is changed up here. Now if we run this, and just wait a second for it to compile, everything should run properly. Yep. Thank you for watching.